Hello, thanks for joining me. I'm out for a few days camping and trail riding with some friends, and what I want to talk about today is the suitability of this bike I'm riding, my KTM EXC450, the suitability of this bike as a long distance trail riding bike. Oh, we've got some cows in the road here, which I think Brian's not so keen about shifting. I'll move them.
Shoo, 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 shoo.
Here we go. Right. Yeah, a comment I get regularly is that this KTM is just not suitable as a touring bike or long distance riding bike because they're unreliable and the maintenance is too high. And I just want to make this video to say that both of those points are absolute nonsense. It is not so. I have had this bike now for 7 years and I have done quite a lot of touring on it, and it has been brilliant. It has never broken down on me, and importantly, and this for me is the most important thing, just get this gate, but the most important thing is that it's a great bike to ride. I just really enjoy riding. Where's the... Every gate is fastened differently. Oh, there's the chain. Problem is most of them are broken, so the latches are broken, so there's some kind of chain on them. That's it, got it. Yeah, so yeah, this bike just puts a smile on my face every time I get on it, every time I ride it. It's such a fun bike to ride. And for me, that's so important. If I'm going to do a lot of riding, if I'm going to spend a lot of time on the trail, I want to be riding something that I enjoy riding and fun to ride. And one of the reasons why it's such fun to ride, I think the biggest reason is it's such a capable bike, is this. I made a video which I posted on the channel a while back where I explained why I sold my DRZ 400 and bought this KTM. And quite a few people have said, oh, the DRZ 400 is so much better, it's lower maintenance. Well, yeah, I'll come on to that in a second. But this bike is just so much more capable. Even fully loaded with all of my luggage, all of my camping gear and everything, it gets me through some pretty gnarly stretches of trail sometimes with absolutely no drama. And of course today we're riding with no luggage because we're just riding out for the day from the camp, so left the tent and my panniers and everything back at the camp, and it's an absolute joy riding like that. But even with all the luggage on, it's a brilliant bike. And so yeah, let me get on to the other issue which is important, which is this thing about comments I get all the time about what about the high maintenance, you can't tour on it because it's too high maintenance. Well, it's not really. I mean, KTM suggests that you change the oil every 12 hours. It being a race bike, of course, the service intervals are in hours rather than mileage. But that is for racing. I emphasise that this service schedule is for racing. Now, I accept that one of the reasons for the frequent oil changes is because the oil capacity is quite low in this bike. It takes a litre and a half of oil, which is not a great deal. So that oil is working harder. But when I'm trail riding like this, I mean, just look, this is my typical riding. I am not pushing the bike at all. I'm just pottering along. The bike is literally just ticking over most of the time, and therefore the engine is not working very hard. That oil is not working very hard as well. I've owned this bike for 7 years, and over that time I've experimented with different periods of changing the oil. Now, let me say at this point, changing the oil frequently is one of the most important things for longevity of a motor. So I'm not advocating don't change your oil, but what I'm saying is that you can push those oil changes out to much longer distances when you're just pottering along, as I am at the moment. So, I've changed the oil after 30 hours. In fact, the longest I pushed it was 45 hours of riding time, and I changed the oil, and to be honest, it came out looking not much worse than the fresh oil that went in. That oil is really not working too hard at all. So I'm quite happy when I'm off touring, you know, pushing my, depending on how many miles I'm doing a day, you know, pushing my oil changes out to, you know, to once a week, or even, you know, once every 2 weeks if I'm not actually covering that much distance. And I have to emphasize that changing the oil is a very quick and simple job on this bike. It literally takes 5 minutes. You pull out the drain plug, pull out, there's a couple of mesh filters, you know, spin off the oil filter, just put a new oil filter in, and then top it up. You know, 10 minutes maximum. It's just not a big hassle. And of course the other thing is keeping the air filter clean, so frequently changing the air filter. But in all the time I've had this bike, that's pretty much all I've needed to do. I do check the valves regularly, and I've never had to adjust them at all. And so this is not a high maintenance bike. So what I would say is, if you look after them, and I think I'm going to do some more videos about actually looking after them, they are reliable. I ride a lot with other people, and I have to say, you know, when we have a breakdown, when we have a problem with somebody's bike, you know, I don't want to be rude about the people I ride with, but quite often it is due to poor maintenance, just that they have not been looking after the bike. You know, when you're trail riding like this, your bike takes a lot of abuse, and you have got to look after it. But if you do so, it will be reliable. Now, just look at that view. This is awesome. Now, if you own a DR650 or a DRZ400 or a Honda CRF250 or 300, I'm not trying to convert you or, you know, say that your choice of bike is wrong, not at all. Nor am I, you know, I don't feel the need to justify my own choice of bike. It's really, I just want to point out that the criticisms that I hear of the KTM as a longer distance trail riding bike, they're just wrong. In my experience, they're wrong. So I simply want to point out that I think a lot of these you know, criticisms are ill-founded. Just go and close this gate. Now, I don't deny that people have had reliability problems with KTMs, but I think, you know, certainly in my experience, what I've seen is it's mainly because they've bought second-hand bikes which have been abused in the past. You know, if you've bought a bike that's been raced or, you know, just not been well maintained by somebody in the past, then you're buying trouble. And, you know, I recognise that. I've seen that. I have seen other people have, you know, problems with these KTMs. So I bought this bike from new, and in fact, in all my years of riding, it's the only brand new bike I've ever bought. And I bought it new because I wanted to buy a bike with no previous history of, you know, that I didn't know about, you know, abuse or whatever, so that I knew that I had it from new, and if I looked after it well, it should do well. And that's certainly been my experience. Now, I know I'm going to get responses to this video. People say, oh yeah, but I bought a new KTM and it was nothing but trouble. Well, if that is the case, I'm sorry to hear that. But, you know, I've also got friends who bought brand new BMW GS1200s that were nothing but trouble. And I've got a friend who bought a Honda Transalp, and that was nothing but trouble. So, you know, these things happen. And we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that, you know, that is going to be the case with every single bike of that particular type. So anyway, I think I'll get off my soapbox now. I've made my point. Thanks for watching. Oh, we're going to this cafe now for a coffee, so ideal point to stop. Cheers.